the age of social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pop culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Yo, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to an edition of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Julius Freeman, and with me today is the ever-loving, ever-caring
Kyle.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't know when you were going to stop. You're just kind of
I
like,
know, I
going.
don't know. I didn't know either. I was just going with it, but good to be back. Another edition, another week, another busy week. A lot going on in the world. A lot's going on in the world of comics, and right now a bunch of people are live streaming. But it's all good. This is what it's all about.
Well, so are we.
Yeah, exactly. So are we. But we're a lot more fun and informative, I think, than other channels. Sure. But don't tell anyone else that. But anyways, how was your week, Kyle? What did you pick up this week? Let us know. What's the deal here?
What's the deal, yo? All right. Well, it was a pretty good week. I think I mentioned before on one of the other streams that I was helping one of my local comic shop move to a new location.
Yes.
And so now that he's starting to get more settled in and actually going through all the boxes, he finally gave me payment for my help in moving.
Does that mean he gave you like statues or comics? Is that what
most likely it was a comic, and so this is like I think my most valuable comic, singular comic that I have in
Oh,
my collection. It's
and
a first print
ooh.
Batman Dark Knight Returns,
Now that's an issue, right? Is that a reprint, second print,
first print,
first print?
high
Dang.
grade Batman Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller.
And he only gave you the first issue, and he didn't give you
Yeah,
the
he
other
gave me
one.
the first issue, but I have the rest of them on hold, I guess. And so I'm gonna get the rest of them. But yeah, he gave me this one.
Nice, dude. Nice. Dang.
So I was pretty happy about that
I
because
bet.
well, first off, I mean, like, it's what I hear is like one of the best storylines that was ever
One of
created,
the best,
basically.
yes.
Yeah.
Written and drawn by Frank Miller at his peak. He was at his peak in this point of his comic book career, and I believe Lynn Varley is the Lynn Varley
Lynn Varley
and
and
who's the second person?
Klaus Janson.
Klaus Johnson. Johnson or
Johnson.
Jansen?
Janson. Janson.
Okay. Yeah, they inked and colored his pencils, or I'm assuming his inks. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, classic storyline, classic book. I mean, it's
Yeah.
revered to this very day. It's up there with Watchmen in terms of like peak '80s comics. And good on you, man. Good on you
I know.
for
Well, and especially getting it for like free, basically, for helping them
yeah
move some boxes.
for
Yeah,
free of all
for free.
things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah,
first
you
print.
sent me the picture. My first reaction was like, "You little bastard."
Well, it seems like I seem to be getting a lot of stuff that you want. I mean, I got this. I got the Alex
The
Ross
Alex Ross
Marvels
Marvel
signed.
signed, whatever.
Now I do have one question for you.
Uh
That
huh.
was when I posted this on Instagram. One of the people I follow and follows back asked me the question, so I'll ask you: when you see Batman there, is he facing towards us or behind us?
Oh, do you know what? This was a point of debate that came on that was on Twitter a few months back, and honestly, if you want my answer, Kyle, I don't give a shit.
Oh wow! Way to ruin the fun.
The only thing I care about is that the cover is rad. That's the only thing
Well,
I
it
care about.
is rad.
It's rad because it's Batman. He's jumping from, I'm assuming, building to building, and there's a fucking big old lightning bolt right, behind them or in front of them. I guess we'll never know, will we, Kyle?
Well, if I ever get to talking with Frank Miller, I'll go and ask him.
He might just tell you, "What do you think?"
What do you? Yeah, that's probably what he'd say. But
Yeah,
I
because
am
art,
wanting to
art,
go and
art
get.
is subjective. Anyone can interpret art the way they want. So I don't.
Well,
I just think it's cool. It's a great composition piece because obviously Batman would be in silhouette if
right,
he was in a lightning bolt of light full of light
was
struck behind
behind
him.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, and for me, what I think is I would assume that he would be facing towards us because you would want your characters. Most of all, comic creators are always facing towards the person, but I can see it being backwards as well. So pretty much my answer was pretty much every single time I look at it, I think it's the other way.
or other way, like
Like
his
like
back.
I look at it one way and then it's one way and then I go and then I look back again and I'm like, no, it could be the other way. It's
That's the genius of Frank Miller. That was his
like
genius.
it's
He
like
didn't. He
Schrodinger's.
didn't. He left it up in the air for you to determine what you want. And then plus, I don't think anyone. I never really paid attention to that kind of thing. I was just like, I just think it was a
No,
cool
it's a
cover.
silly thing, but
Yeah.
but
What's up, Ben? How you doing, buddy?
how's it going? But I also I bought this and it was this Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man
Very nice.
number 306
Very nice.
Action Comics number 1 homage. Yeah. So I got that specifically because it's an homage to the Action Comics number 1. What I'm
Yeah.
planning on doing is getting more of these types of homage covers,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna do like a lineup up
Oh,
there
nice,
of
nice.
all of
Of
them.
just nothing but homage covers.
Of just of those ones. So I have this one,
Yeah.
and then I also have another one that I got a while back, which is a Popeyes.
Nice, dude. Nice. That's a cool one. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have them all lined up once I get more.
Oh, and it's just gonna be like theme, like just the Superman
Yeah,
cover,
it's
or
just gonna be the Superman covers
nice,
up there.
nice. Now all
So
you need to do is become friends with Nicolas Cage so he can lend you Action Comics #1, so he can just let you display it for a show.
sure, why not? You know, hey, anything's possible if you set your mind to it.
Yeah, yeah. What else did you pick up? Did you pick up anything else?
So I went to a swap meet
Oh,
and I guess who was it that was saying it? Was Oli or Ray?
yeah,
Was he
Oliver.
good?
I kept telling you
Oliver.
to open the seal, break the seal of the Wizard
Okay,
magazine you bought at the antique shop.
I didn't open that book, but when they were saying that they're pretty cheap, yeah, they're pretty cheap. Once I because I got I
Yeah,
got
yeah, they are.
this whole stack of Wizard
Ah, look at
magazines.
that. So there you go, people. If you were here with us last week, look at that. How many do
I
you
got
have there now?
I have 7, 8. Yeah,
Eight wizard. He has eight wizard magazines now that he bought at the swap meet. So
for
there you
like
go. The
$7.
you put it out there into the universe. The universe answered your call, Kyle, and you found them at a swap meet. That's just the way it
Yeah.
goes, right?
Well, and
Cause and
it
effect.
was pretty cool because well, one of them I got from my comic book shop, which was this one, which is one that you said that you remember having this one.
Yes, I did have that one.
Yeah.
Benjamin says, "Nice haul." See, Benjamin, he knows he got some nice swag there.
Oh yeah. But I asked my comic book shop about the sealed ones, and because he did have some sealed ones,
Yeah.
and he basically said he doesn't really know what the difference is between them being sealed and not, besides the fact that this one had the books in it. But when he was looking up like the prices, he says it doesn't really make a difference whether or not they're sealed or opened.
So are you
But
gonna open the Alex Ross one, or are you gonna keep that
no,
sealed?
I'm gonna keep that one sealed
Okay.
because I just like that one and I kind of like it being sealed. I'll try to find another one that's open so I can look it up, but
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, did you read any of these Wizard magazines, or you
not
just peruse through them?
not yet. I perused a bunch of them, and yeah, when I was looking through them, it's like, yeah, what you were talking about is like there's some cool articles and stuff, and like
Yeah.
talking with the creators, and
Yeah.
like
Exactly. Exactly. We
you
don't
know
have
what
that no more. That's the
who's
sad
like
thing
the
about it.
yeah. I mean, like a lot of the stuff that I do see in this book was sort of adopted and into YouTube videos from creators where they do like, the top 10 most shocking things about
Yes.
Unsealed. You miss out on the extras that they come with, like cards and previews. Yeah, see? But at least that one, my other wizard one that's sealed, it still has all that stuff. But
Okay.
But yeah, like I was saying, a lot of the some of these articles and stuff were stuff that would then be in other, what later becomes YouTube videos of people talking about comic books and stuff. So I do
Essentially,
see where it kind of, I guess, lost relevancy when YouTube started.
like most printing stuff, like most print, but so far, thankfully, comics have not gotten there yet. I think a lot of readers will always prefer physical, and I mean, I do. It's nothing. There's nothing like owning your own book and owning a copy of a book, a physical book. So I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, something like Wizard Magazine is something that it couldn't have sustained in the new landscape of the internet when it blew up. It
Right.
did in the early 2000s. But
But it's
good on
still
you,
cool
man.
to
Good on you
have.
for picking up all those Wizard magazines. You get these almost like a time capsule source that
That's what it is. It's like I'm
yeah,
looking back
stumbled
at them
upon.
and I'm like, wow. So this was the 90s.
Yeah. Well, this was the 90s comic book
90s.
scene.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? It's a little
Yeah.
wild. Like I'm actually looking forward to hearing what you have to say when you start reading some of these articles.
Yeah, it'll be kind of fun to actually. Well, what I'm looking forward to is like actually reading the articles when it's the creators talking about the books that they're doing and stuff like
Right.
that, because I don't necessarily see a whole lot of that nowadays, of the creators talking of like the old school creators talking about it. Maybe that's just because I haven't been
No,
around
they
comics
do.
that much.
They're just on, like you said, YouTube channels, and
Yeah.
it's so decentralized now that you really don't you can't really find all those channels because everyone has a channel, right? Everyone has a
Right.
channel, and some people have more connections than others. So some YouTubers have more of a reach than others, and some even know creators personally. There's one podcast I do like listening to, and they also do have a YouTube channel, and it's pros. It's Eric Kanate is the artist. Is Ink Pulp. I think it's called the Ink Pulp podcast,
Hmm.
and it's just comic book artists talking about their craft, which is pretty freaking cool. It's fun.
That's
It's a fun
cool.
show, but again, it's one of those things where hopefully the algorithm will push the videos that you're liking and subscribing to towards you, so that way you can at least be exposed to new stuff that could be right up your alley. So, but
Right.
who
Yeah.
knows?
And then let's see what else I got. I got new comic books this week. So I went to, yeah, my other local new comic book shop. Wasn't that busy. It's sort of been just the same as it has been. Um, but I picked up some books. One of them was this Thrawn Alliance. This is a new Thrawn Star Wars book.
Nice, nice, very nice.
The reason why I picked it up is because Timothy Zahn is supposed to be one of the main writers of this book
Okay,
or series.
not bad, not bad.
So, I mean,
Uh, Hold on, Ben says that's a great point. These big publishers could benefit from having all their creators on their YouTube channel to push and promote their books and cultivate a relationship. Dude, absolutely, but for whatever reason, they don't want to, and I guess I can understand why. Some people are very introverted. Some people are not really comfortable in front of the camera, and they freeze, and they're not really, open. It does take a little practice to get used to it. It for me specifically when I started, I was a nervous wreck, but now I'm a lot more comfortable. But you're absolutely right, which is I think why indie is ahead of the game in a lot of ways when it comes to what you just mentioned, Ben, about having the YouTube channel. And
do you think
some of them are
people
jerks in person. That's true, man. That's true. Some of them are jerks in person, and they probably don't want to break that spell, right? Of like,
the rose tinted glasses?
yes, thank you, Kyle. Yes, and so they rather stay away from that. But hey, it's the future, man. I mean, it's not the future; it's the present. That's the thing that's everyone's doing now. So you got to do it if you want to remain relevant. But maybe if you're so good at what you do, maybe you don't need it. But that is a good point too, Ben. That the publishers should have active YouTube channels to get creators on their channels and have interviews or do shows, whatever the case may be.
I,
But
I mean, is there like a YouTube, like, does, I don't want to say Diamond, but like, does Dark Horse, like all these other Dark Horse or, Marvel and
I'm
stuff
sure
like
they
that, do they have
do.
like previews of like what they're going to be coming out with?
Maybe they do, but it like everything else, right? It takes time. It takes time to prepare stuff like that, and it probably costs money as well, especially if you want to reach a wide audience. But I honestly, I never seen a Dark Horse YouTube channel or a Marvel YouTube channel or DC YouTube channel or Image for that matter.
Yeah.
Um, there could be lots of reasons, but I have no idea. Maybe one of them can be what they're one of the reasons what Ben said. Some of them are jerks and they don't want to show off their. But hey, that could be good for clicks too. I mean,
Right. I
having that
mean,
kind of attitude, that shock jock attitude, sells too. So why not? Why not just own it? That's what I say.
you would think so. Didn't they? Marvel does all their marketing and stuff. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, so Benjamin said, yeah, Marvel has one, but they barely put stuff out.
Ah, well, there you go. There you go. So,
I guess they just more focused on the movies, and then that's the only thing really they announce.
yeah, they're more focused on the movies. Again, it could just be that they don't have someone who can run the channel, because that's a little bit of work too, running the channel and making sure you produce content, because the YouTube algorithm is all about content. How much content do you put out, and how much content are you willing to put into the system, so that way it could push your videos out. So, I mean, who knows? All I know is that Marvel Comics currently are just, I guess, at this point, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, because what came out this Wednesday, Kyle? You know what came
Well,
out this Wednesday,
well,
right?
I'm not done. I'm not talking. I'm done. Not done talking about what else I got.
Oh, well, then hurry up. And what else did you get?
Well, okay. I got a Bloodrick second
Oh,
printing.
whoa, is that the reprint of issue 1?
Yes.
Nice.
So this is like, because I also mentioned that I like Conan, and this
Yes.
gives very Conan vibes.
Yes, very. It does.
I picked Julius up the second issue, and when we were flipping through it, I'm like, this looks pretty cool. I think I need to go and get the first issue. And
Nice.
so I did. And then I got Medieval Spawn.
Oh, very nice. Wait, is this the one that who's drawing this one? Did you see who? Wait, what is this one? Is this the old one?
This is old. This is from, I don't know when it was from. 95?
What issue is that?
1?
Issue 1 of Medieval Spawn. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh,
Medieval Spawn and
Witchblade.
Witchblade.
Oh, nice, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And okay. So is that Magdalene Denham?
No, it's Witchblade, I think, Ben.
Witchblade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so
so the
he
reason,
caught it. He caught it.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, because I've been collecting more Spawn stuff because it's been pretty cool. And Medieval Spawns just seems like one that I would like to do. Or
Absolutely.
like read. Anyway, okay, now we can get to the one.
Well, as I was saying before you rudely interrupted me, Kyle.
Well, you're the one who jumped the guns.
This is a live stream. We have to go with the flow. Got to go with what feels right.
Fine.
But a couple months back, a bombshell kind of fell on the previews catalog and got a lot of people talking about this specific issue of the X-Force. Now, it wasn't so much the story, it wasn't so much who was writing it. It was more about the cover.
Right.
The
And who
cover of
drew
this
the
book
cover?
really got people talking about what's going on at Marvel. How did this happen? Why did this happen? How, like, what's going on over there? Because I'm sure you're in the same boat. I think most people would agree. When you're at a certain level in any kind of field you're in, there's a level of professionalism that should come with the higher you go, right?
You would
And
think.
you can't go any higher than Marvel. Marvel Comics is like DC, the top of the mountain, Mount Olympus of the comic book industry. You make it there, you're made. You're a made man, right? Like in the mafia. You get made. You get made. You're forever made in the eyes of the readers.
Man, how many times can you say made?
I can't. I don't have my thesaurus here with me in front of me, so I can't come up with another word. But so this was for me personally a lot more shocking, surprising than outraged. Some people were outraged about it. Some people were just totally making fun of it. For me, I was more surprised. It was more like, what?
Shocking.
How is this even, like, why would they even do this? And so I thought, oh, okay, maybe someone made a mistake, or maybe they're gonna backtrack it. Maybe they're going to, like, yeah, let's not print this.
Put it out.
Let's not print this out, because it got some flack online. Not many people, it got made fun of, all that stuff. But no, apparently they had no problem putting it out. Because here it is. Here it is. There it is. the physical book of the X Force, number 48. Now,
by John Cassaday.
by John Cassaday, the um the superstar artist of Planetary. He had a Captain America run right on after 9/11, and Benjamin Soto is doing the crying emoji laugh. And I love John Cassaday's work. His work is, for me, top notch. I mean, Planetary is one of my favorite comic book runs of all time because it was just a perfect marriage between a writer and an artist, and it's very rare when it comes to the industry. You still have them, right? But at that point, it was still very rare to have just two people just like
Click.
get each other, right? They just connect. And
Yeah.
Planetary is one of those books for me. So when I saw this cover, I was like, what happened here? There's so many possibilities as to what happened with this book, but yikes.
I'm gonna say this is a fantastic cover. It's now I put this Alex Ross cover up as just to pale in comparison with this one. I mean, who would want a realistic looking beast? We're talking comics here, okay? We need a comic book accurate beast that looks like it's from a comic, not this highly detailed and very thought out version. We need this. So
For those of
this
you
is going
who may not know, Kyle's being sarcastic. Just want to put it out there.
Really? How about that?
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where I couldn't believe it. Like I'm an editor currently for 656 Comics for the Kryptonals. I've been in the game of making comics for over 10 years. And Benjamin says Alex Ross is just a placeholder until you got that Cassidy masterpiece.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
and for me, it was more like, why put this out there? What happened here? And I can't help but speculate. Either one of two things happened. One is John Cassidy just mailed it in. He got paid and he mailed it in, and that's the end of it. And the people at Marvel said, you know what, let's just put this out. We paid for it. Let's do it. And they were just not, I guess they didn't care. They probably thought it was good enough. Maybe. I hope
That's a
I
really
hope
low
that's not the
bar.
case. What's that?
That's a really low bar if they're thinking that.
A very low bar. And again, not to make fun. We're not making fun. We're just more asking questions as to what happened here, because like I said, Marvel and DC, they're at they should be at a top level of professionalism, right?
Well,
You don't put subpar work at Marvel. You get the very best, or at the very least, someone who's capable, right? Because I picked up Marvel books in the past who the artist like, whoa, how did this guy get the job? But as you read the issue, you realize, oh, okay, I can see why, because this guy's capable. This artist is probably fast, or this artist understands the foundations or the fundamentals of sequential storytelling, which is why they hired him in the first place. And on top of that, a lot of the times you get to see in per issue how they grow and they evolve and they get better with time, and you see like, oh, cool, wow, this is the same guy. Like, this is the same guy who drew issue 1. Wow, what a upgrade, right?
growth.
Yeah, what growth, exactly. And as comic book readers, I personally, I know I can't speak for Kyle or anyone else who reads comics, but I personally like seeing that. I think that's great to see when you pick up an issue, and that's how I felt with Captain Britain, the run that Alan Moore and Alan Davis did for Marvel UK. And that first issue was tough. It was tough because the artwork was like wonky. The writing was kind of didn't really hit in certain spots. But then as I kept reading and got through those first 2 issues, by the third issue, boom, it was pristine. It was perfect. The lettering was just right. The writing was perfect. The art was absolutely gorgeous. And after that, off to the races, the book went, and I was hooked. But I like that kind of stuff. What about you, Kyle? Do you prefer seeing that? Do you want perfection right from the get-go?
Well, I think while I was reading the comments, it's like what Benjamin said. That's so unlike his other work. When where when we first saw that cover and we're
Right.
looking
Yeah.
at it, you showed me some of his previous work that he did, and I'm like, it's like night and day difference. You can tell that it's the same artist because he used sort of the
Right.
same styles that he would normally use, but it's very just off-putting the way that this one came out versus the other like really great pieces that he did work on. And so
Yeah.
and then when I was buying the book at the actual shop, it was funny when I was walking around, one of the other regulars that's there, I overheard him talking to the shop owner. He's all like, "Oh yeah, didn't that really awful X-Force cover come out today?" And
Ouch.
the shop owner just like points over to me. He's like, he specifically ordered them. And
Wow. So you weren't
yeah,
we weren't the only ones because I want to own it because I was seriously shocked that they were going to go with it, and I was like, you know what, I have to own this. Ironically, I have to
right.
because it's indication to me anyway of two things, two potential or possible uh conclusions to this. One, the people who work for Marvel currently don't care. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That's one possible outcome as to why this came out. And the fact is they don't care. That's what happens when you don't care. We just go ahead, send it out. It doesn't matter. That's not a good sign. That's not a good thing either because people pay money for this.
Yeah.
People,
It was what? $4.
it was $4, but all due respect to the aspiring comic book artists out there and creators who I've over the years as I've gone to comic book conventions and we go to that indie section or the artist alley and you see those few artists or those few books where you look at the art and you're like, you want $10 for this? this art,
It's like,
this art's not
you're
very good.
you're
Why am I
trying.
going to pay money for this when the art's not very good? And as every reader, at least for myself, I can only speak for myself. I expect a little bit of quality in the books that I buy. Any book would be it indie or corporate owned like Marvel or DC. There's a certain level of expectancy when it comes to purchasing something for $5, especially $5 for a 28-page to 32-page comic book. You
With
gotta you gotta wow
half
me.
the pages being ads too.
Exactly. That's why Bloodrick was so,
Bloodrick. Yeah.
yeah, it was so refreshing. It
Appealing.
was like, oh, dude, this feels like a comic book. This feels like an actual comic book that I and it's not nostalgia either. I don't want you guys to think that, oh, back in my day or back in the day it was a lot better. It's not nostalgia. It's just quality. Bloodrick, like my brother who saw the cover at work when we showed it to him, he said this speaks to me more
Right.
because this here's this guy who's bloody and he's gonna climb this big old mountain and I want to know what's gonna happen in the story. And it has all the elements that makes comic books unique from movies and TV shows. And that, again, all due respect to Mr. Cassidy, but damn, that cover was, if I were in that room choosing the images to put to previews, I would have vetoed it. I would have been like, you know what, we can't send this out. This is not going to be a good look, not just for John Cassaday, but for the
Yeah.
Marvel brand. It hurts your brand essentially when things like this get out. They got it out. I couldn't believe it. I have it. I'm holding it in my hands.
I know.
It's
It's
wild.
there.
But hey, even the
Which
most
is
ironic part of all this, Kyle?
what?
We bought the book.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
bought the fucking book.
But see, if they come out with more of this style, we're not going to.
Oh no, of course not. No,
That's the
no. This
thing. It's
was
like this
thi-
is
this
an
was
ironic thing
yes. Yeah, definitely an
because
ironic
of
thing.
what it is.
Yeah.
But if they like, oh look, everybody buy it because they must like it. So let's put all of our covers like that. Then they'll see an even more decline.
Exactly, and that's the unfortunate thing about this whole, not this whole thing. I know this is just a little blip because I know there's other books out there that are creating buzz, but the fact that it's John Cassaday is number one, It's an X-Force book with Wolverine and Beast in the cover, two iconic characters that most people in the world recognize and know because of the movies.
Well, and then
And they provide, huh?
also, Benjamin Percy is the one that's writing it.
Oh, and Benjamin Percy's writing that
Yes.
issue of X-Force,
Yeah.
written by a pretty good writer too.
Because he's the one who's been writing the Predator Wolverine.
Right. Benjamin says it could just be a great marketing gimmick. It got everyone talking for a good while. It sure did, Ben. It sure did. And you're right about that. They got people talking, but
That only lasts so far.
it
You can
only goes
only
so far,
pull
and
that
we
trick so much.
and people still bought it because it's like I said, it's an ironic purchase. But when if this happens again, no one's gonna buy it.
Right.
Ironically, they won't buy it. You'll have a few, and it's interesting that we're talking about this and the fact that, Marvel. I don't know about DC, but Marvel giving the go ahead to release this cover,
Yeah.
and not try to find something else to replace it with. Reminds me of this post I saw on Twitter earlier this week that I thought was pretty interesting, and I would like to read it to all of you. Kyle, would you like me to read it to
Sure.
you? Sure. So,
mean,
this
okay.
tweet was posted by a person on Twitter called Brian. I'm assuming Newmeyer. Is that how you pronounce the name? It's spelled a little weird, but Newmeyer. I'm assuming it's Newmeyer or Niemeyer. I don't know. He said that here's what he said. The Neo patrons and I. Let me share my screen. Give me a second.
That probably help.
Yeah, that will help to have a visual of
Yeah.
what I'm
No,
talking
let's
about.
just gather around the campfire. Story time.
Okay, here we go. So, hold on, let me see here. There we go. Let me see if I could zoom in on this. Perfect. So here we go. Brian Newmeyer. The Neo patrons and I were discussing how corporate studios' refusal to make products normal people is black pilling the masses. Cue the indie lament. There's plenty of great new stuff out there. You just need to look out for it. But maybe we're looking at it wrong. So he goes, he's retweeting someone else who posted something about a different show, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm more interested in what he wrote here. A handful of cartels used to control access to the audience. If you wanted to make a living in the arts, you had to play ball. Then new tech wrested control from the gatekeepers and gave it to the artists. Now neo patronage let artists share control with customers, which is essentially Patreon, crowdfunding, YouTube, what we're doing right now, YouTubing, right?
Yeah.
But there's still trouble in paradise. Indies still complain they don't get any support from backers or influencers. They're sure they could take down Tor, DC Comics, or Disney with a fraction of corporate IP's funding and reach. They may just be right, but notice the assumption implied by the premises. Indie Video wants to be the new AAA. I don't know what that reference is.
AAA.
New publishing wants to be old publishing. Yet the same advances that birth indie make legacy models unworkable. Here's what I'm saying. There's no monolithic industry anymore. Neither is there unified audience, which is absolutely spot on. That's exactly what I've noticed too. That's what's killing the old paradigm. And we've known it for years. We passed peak pop star. Old publishing can't make another Stephen King. Tom Cruise is the last A+ lister. What's that mean for us? What I've been saying for a while now. Pro artists, authors, and musicians will live next door to lawyers and plumbers, comfortable but not rich. The paradigm changed twice, but creators still expect old model results, which is also true. I've also noticed that with a lot of indie creators. So what? So the old way was trying to get in front of as many eyeballs as possible to make the maximum number of people want to buy the art you or your handlers wanted to make, which is what the whole marketing, right? Billboards, bus stop billboard posters, all that marketing
All
stuff.
TV ads.
TV ads, commercials. That's less feasible by the day. There's no more Elvis money. What there is subsists inside the new paradigm, the return of patronage. That means sharing control with your audience, remember? and it means the script's flipped. Now they come to you to commission art they want. Now that's up for debate. That's not to militate against sales and marketing efforts. It is to suggest that indie creators might want to rethink where and how they're focusing those efforts. So, I that whole thread struck me a little bit. It put things in perspective that I'd never really thought to put into perspective until I read this, because he pretty much laid down exactly what's going on in this current climate. The tribalism, right? You have Comicsgate, you have Iron Age now, and you have other different pockets of fandoms that are no longer united, right? It's all about, like he said, patronage. I'm going to support this person because I like what he's producing. Therefore, I'm going to give him money because he's producing what I want, and I'm going to give him a monthly payment on his Patreon, or I'm going to support his crowdfunding because he's doing comic books that I want to read, as opposed to trying to think, like the old way, right? Like what you do, Kyle, every Wednesday, you go into the comic shop and you kind of pick out and hope you pick out
Hope
something
it's
that's
good.
that's worthwhile, right?
Yeah. But I mean, to an extent, I do go to books that I know, and like I have, read from that creator before. I mean, like I usually try to pick. I tend to lean more towards that. Like if there's a new, what was it called, Ghost Machine,
Yes.
that came out that I didn't get,
Oli.
because I didn't know about it, but when you mentioned it to me that it was written by Jeff Johns, that made me
Right.
want to go and buy it because it was Jeff Johns, and I really like Jeff Johns' work that he's done. So there is a little bit of that when people are going towards creators and stuff that they know.
Right.
But
But see, Jeff Johns is an established writer. He
right,
he he made his career writing DC comics. But people like me, people like Ray from 656, Oli, Ben, and other indie creators, we don't have that luxury. We don't have that
establishment.
yeah, they established, platform that readers who read our stuff at DC or Marvel have. Like that's the reason why Ethan Van Sciver was able to raise close to $1 million or over $1 million for his Cyberfrog book, because he already had that fan base following them around.
Right,
Patronage, as Mr. Newmeyer said here, it's his patrons, people who like what he does. Same thing with Eric July. Eric July was able to raise 3 million not because on the merit of the book Isom, or that Isom looked appealing. It was because of Eric July. It was because of the stuff that he had done for his YouTube channel, and on the list goes. And that's the new paradigm that we have today. It's all about patronage. How many patrons can you gather up? Can you find and gather up to help sustain you to continue making, like in my case, comic books? Without having to deal with what do you call it, diamond distribution or
hmm
or any of that stuff. You could just do that locally. Like I technically, if I wanted to, I can have a nice print run. It may not be national distribution, but I could definitely get a map or go on Google Maps and type in comic book stores in LA County, Orange County, Riverside County, and San Diego County. And then boom, bunch of little pins right on the map, and that's where I can find the numbers, call them, and sell my book and see if they're willing to pick it up, and then have a nice little print run that's only relegated to that area. That's how Ninja Turtles started, I
Oh
think.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, no. They went to
I
diamond
don't think
distribution.
so.
I'm wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. So
Now you're
Benjamin
just
says,
making up stuff.
there's no more mass audience, just pockets of them looking for what the mainstream took from them, and they, the audience, have the power to empower the artists to create what they are. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I think that was the reason why when crowdfunding first became a thing, and artists finally saw, like, dude, I don't have to, like, submit my work and hope they call me back.
Right.
Now I can just submit it to a readership and they'll just throw money at me. Not, not, I know that sounds bad, but that's a good thing. But of course there's a trade-off, right? The trade-off is, when do you deliver? How do you deliver? Because that's the big, I think that's the big disparagement between indie creator and readers, is that we don't have the uh what do you call it, the distribution foundation set up, because that was all taken care of by the legacy corporate, wings of the publishing houses.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Kyle? Do you think that's Mr. Newmeyer here is right, or do you think,
I
or
think
yeah, what do you think?
it,
Just
okay,
let us know.
well,
Yeah,
I was gonna
sorry.
say I think that yeah, he's pretty right about all of it. I'd say that it kind of also falls along with um what I've heard about from a lot of other creators, like what you're saying, where basically they just go off of commission pieces now because all they need is they already have their fan base that follows them. So why would they need any other stuff? And just makes it even harder for like new people to get established in these areas because nobody really wants to give them a chance necessarily, I guess.
Right.
Um, and you would see that again, like what's happening with uh, other, not just comic books, but like other mediums as well. For one thing, I know it's a little off topic, but with the AI with voice actors,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
if you're an established voice actor, you're going to be getting a lot more people, and especially if they're able to sign you on with the AI to use your likeness of your voice. Forget forget a person that has a really good Darth Vader voice acting speech. Good luck getting a spot as playing Darth Vader if they can just get James Earl Jones to sign off AI using his voice for every Darth Vader appearance. Disney and all of them are just going to use that instead of hiring some other person to do it. So if you're already established, then great for you, but it's going to
Right.
be hard for everybody else, and so it's kind of following the same suit as this.
Yeah, I think I'm a believer that a renaissance of sorts is happening. It's just that most indie writers, and not just writers, but artists, don't see it yet. They can't see it yet. And the reason why is because of what Mr. Brian Newmeyer here is saying, is that everyone wants to be like old publishing. Everyone wants what he called Elvis money, right? Big money.
Right.
And the fact is, those days are gone. No one's ever going to get big money. Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen unless you get lucky, unless you find a producer or someone who's willing to take a shot with you and like take a major risk. But even then, that's still a big risk.
Not many of those comic book publishings are ready to take that type of risk. I
Exactly.
mean,
Exactly.
look at IDW right now. They're I don't think they could take any risks
Yeah,
now.
no, they can't.
Well,
They can't
they're
because
at
they
that point where it's either they do only risks and risk it all, or they
right.
do no risks.
Yeah, and they had one of the most popular licenses ever and they lost it.
Yeah,
Transformers and GI Joe. And now Skybound has it because they're more capable. The people who work there care about
yeah,
the licensee, the those properties, and
and
now
it's
they're
good.
delivering some of the best stuff out there. Like I did not think I was gonna like Duke, but for some reason that book called out to me, Kyle. I
I
don't know
know
why.
because I
I
handed it
don't
to
know
you.
why it called out to me, but it did. And you lent it to me, thankfully.
Yeah,
And I read it and I was completely like mesmerized by it. I couldn't believe how good it was. And that's
yeah,
because you could tell the people involved in producing the this shared universe that they're going to unveil soon um care.
put a lot of thought into it.
Exactly, and they care. They care, and it shows to me as a reader, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. That's the reason why they keep selling out. A lot of shops are under ordering them, thinking like, oh yeah, when IDW had these properties, they weren't selling. right? So they probably thought, you know what, this is going to be the same thing. But most of these shop owners forgot that no, the reason why they weren't selling is because IDW was writing shit comics with those with the
Characters.
properties. Yeah, with those characters.
The
And
characters
now
are
that you
still
have someone
popular.
like what's that?
The characters are still popular.
Exactly, but they're being portrayed in a way that the fans of those properties didn't like. But now that you have a capable publishing house like in Skybound, I mean, I like, I mean, you were there with me. I was surprised that Duke was sold out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, well, I mean, they have been under ordering indie comics because the shop
Well,
that we
which
go
is
to,
true.
yeah, they always under order because they know their clientele more than we do. But now
To an extent.
it's it's happening, right? Benjamin So Skybound is printing money right now. They sure are, dude. They sure
Yeah,
are.
between the Transformers, Void Rivals, G.I. Joe, Duke, Cobra Commander, Invincible, and what other stuff that they're putting out. It's like you said, they're just raining money.
Yeah, and I saw I read the spoiler for Cobra Commander. You know about it, Kyle?
Yeah,
Or yeah.
I flipped through it. I haven't read it
Okay, well,
yet.
I'm not gonna spoil it for those who are watching because I'm I don't know if you guys read it or not. But my God, I was like, dude, this is now what's happening to me, Kyle. Instead of
What?
buyer's remorse, I have a different kind of remorse. I have the
What's that?
remorse of not buying it.
That's well, okay.
It's not
Yeah, so
buyer's remorse
that
because I haven't bought it. Remember, because I was like, oh, I don't care about that. Remember, I kept telling you that I don't care about that. And now I'm like, dude, I should have at least
that's called
budgeted
regret.
my monthly, my monthly a goodie, what I call it, my goodie budget, right? Where I buy things that I like, enjoy, my leisure and stuff. And man, I'm looking back on it now
I
going,
asked
yeah,
you.
that was a
I
mistake.
asked when I was going through the list. I'm like, oh
I
look,
know.
Cobra
Hey, I know.
Commander's coming out. Duke's
Hey,
coming
look,
out.
I'm telling you, Kyle, I could sit here and admit that I was wrong. I was wrong for not being hyped for this, and I should have been hyped for this. But you know what? It's a good thing. And here's why. Because that's the way comic books are supposed to be. They're supposed to be word of mouth good. And I'm singing the praises now because I read some of the issues and they're fantastic. So if you guys have not been checking out any of that Void Rivals, G.I. Joe, Transformer stuff, get on it now because it's gonna be something wild, like
Right.
what they're setting up. And I can't wait for that crossover because it's gonna be a crossover event. It's pretty
Oh,
obvious.
yeah, it's going to, and it's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be amazing. It really is gonna be amazing because they're doing such a great job laying down the foundation for the big event. And
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are out there who are listening are also excited because it's pretty crazy.
Benjamin also said that he's waiting for the creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah,
dude. Again. See, it's like,
another
dang.
property.
Exactly, another property that's gonna gain some hype.
Like that's
Thank
like an
you. I
yeah, that's
appreciate
like
that, man.
an instant buy that I'm gonna get because just of the goodwill that they've put out from the GI Joe and the Transformers.
Exactly. Right now, Skybound is killing it. They really are. They really are killing it right now, and they're doing such a great job. And you know who else is killing it, Kyle?
What?
Well, going back, before we move on,
Okay.
um, is there any other thoughts you have about this? Because I think Brian here was on the money. Chat, what do you guys think? You guys think Brian Newmeyer was on the money when it came to his observation as to what the new landscape looks like when it comes to patronage in for indie comic book creators? Is that the future that faces it? Is like is it over? Is it truly over, or do you guys think it's just a guy who just doesn't know what he's talking about? But
I
what do you
mean,
think, Kyle?
I would like to have a little bit more hope and hope that it could be because of my innocence in being in this new comic book
Right.
industry. I want
Yeah.
it to do really well, so it's
Yeah.
like I'm
Right.
like hoping that it will. But yeah, you as an experienced comic creator says that it's pretty much doomed. And
It's doomed if it keeps going the way it's going. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not privy to any of the insider information regarding the direct market and what's going on within the walls of DC and Marvel. But I do know that sales have gone down. I think last week Jimmy Palmiotti tweeted out that he had like 10 comic book writer friends who worked in the industry reaching out to him asking about how to run a crowdfunding campaign. Now, he he sold it as, oh, this is great. I'm all about it. But I'm looking at it going, wait a second. That means that they know there's money in crowdfunding, but there is no money in their regular jobs.
right.
So you just outed yourself as indirectly telling us it ain't good right now when it comes to finances within the work for hire industry for writers. Because I think a lot of what's going to happen this year too is we're going to see a lot more crowdfunding campaigns for comics. We really are.
I
A
mean,
lot more YouTube channels probably. Who knows?
Do you think you'll ever get to the point where like the main like Marvel and DC will get so desperate that they will reach out to all their old superstars, but now that they are doing their own thing?
Dude, it's already happening. DC already reached out to Scott Snyder to do the Ultimate Universe for DC.
Oh, that's true.
They're already doing it. They're not
Yeah.
going to admit to it, but they're already doing it, which is fine. They own up to it. Like, don't be afraid to say we made a mistake. Now we're going to change courses, because you could win a lot of goodwill back from the readers by doing that. But yeah, like I said, they're already doing it. Scott Steiner has already tapped to do it, and not just him, but also other writers and artists are going to be involved in that. So I wouldn't be surprised if 6 months from now we hear news of the launch, and they're gonna drop the new Superman, the new Batman, the new Wonder Woman, and all that stuff, and people are gonna get hyped for it because, hey, we all like new stuff. But now it's gonna be now the question will be, what's is there a plan for longevity?
Yeah, as their legs.
Yeah. Is this going to be a 6 issue thing and they're going to start all over again, or are you guys going to actually stick with it and give us some long 20 issue runs?
That's what I've been kind of disappointed with recently with comic books, is that they're just also short. Like I mean, I get into a good series and then it ends. And then I'm like, well, there's so much more that you could talk about with this series, and then it's over. There was one example that was the Plot Holes by Sean Gordon Murphy.
Right.
I know he's not one of the main ones, but I've been really enjoying that series, and it's only 5 issues. And then when I saw there was the fifth issue, and I read on the description the conclusion, I'm like, conclusion? We're just starting, we're just getting going. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah, that's the because it is expensive to produce comic books. That's a given. But you could be smart about the investment if you know how to present it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're getting, Sean Gordon Murphy's not like struggling for money.
No, he's not. No, he's
so
not.
It's like he can make as many books as he wants.
That's true. But hey, if the new landscape for comic books is patronage, I'm all about it, because you have to. I'm a believer of earning the trust of readers, right? And that's always been the case for comics since the beginning of time, since the beginning of comics. You put out good work. Yeah, you put out good work, and people will come back. That's just the way it goes. And the new landscape is pretty much doing this. YouTube, going on live streams with other channels, promoting your book. But I think now what indie creators have to do now specifically is they have to know the audience of the channels they're hopping on to promote their book. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. If you have a book like Vigilant Fury, right? Should I go on a live stream on a YouTube channel that likes books about fantasy? No, it wouldn't be a good fit, right? Because the audience of that channel are watching that channel because of fantasy, because they're geeking out over fantasy,
Yeah.
and Lord of the Rings and D&D, whatever the case. So something like Vigilant Fury wouldn't fit to that audience. I might win maybe one or two, people who I'll check
Think
this out. I still like this kind of stuff, but the rest of them are
right.
like, well, I'm here for fantasy, man. Like I don't care about any of that stuff. And that's what I think indie creators today are going to have to start realizing and figuring out. Like, okay, is this book that I have good for the audience that I'm going to sell it to on this live stream channel or on that live stream channel, and so on and so forth. And I think that's going to be the case, at least for me too, because I'm fully aware of that now.
Right.
And
Because
that
before
that
you said that you would just throw everything at the wall and see
yeah, yeah,
anybody who would come.
it's very taxing to campaign. As you worked for a campaign, a political
Yes,
campaign, so you know how taxing it can be to run
it's
a
very
political
taxing.
campaign. So you can only imagine a campaign to sell your book to people who don't know anything about you, don't know who you are. You have no accolades underneath you. It's just you and your book. And that's very daunting for a lot of people who want to start out.
Well, and I mentioned this to you when we were working. Like, whenever I go to the conventions and stuff, how come is it that a lot of creators don't get together and pool all of their books into like one
Right.
company
Yeah.
so that they can like display? Because when I'm going to conventions and I see a table that has like 5 or 6 guys with like 20 books there, that engages me to want to go over there and see the whole spread versus one guy at one booth with
Right.
one book. It's like, okay, well, do I really want to spend time of the weekend of the whole convention with this one guy with one book, or talk to a whole bunch of guys and find out about several books?
And on top of that, what if the guy's a very hardcore introvert and you're trying to
Yeah,
converse with them or her and they don't
shut down.
they don't reciprocate. They don't, and you're like, "Oh, well, I'm not gonna buy your book. Why am I gonna buy your book if you're not gonna talk to me?" And
Yeah,
that happened to me a few times actually
I
where
usually try to do that where I talk to the person and like, okay, well, tell me about your book. What made you like, what made you sort of like the same thing that I do when I review books. Like I ask them, well, what got you thinking about this book? What kind of the story is it and stuff? And a lot of the times, I mean, most of the time they're pretty good at selling their own book,
right.
what the story is. But like, there are other times where they're kind of just like, kind of going through the motions, I'd say.
Right, yeah. I met a few indie creators at Comic Cons who I tried talking to, and I would say maybe 80% of them were very nice, very very approachable, and talk with you, and the other they're just quiet. There was a few where I was like, I had the book in my hand to buy to purchase, but then when it's a lot of this like yeah, because they're drawing or writing something, they just go like yeah, it was pretty cool. And they go, okay, cool, thank you, and I just put it back down, and I'm not gonna buy your book, dude. Like fuck you, like
Yeah.
you're not even paying
But then
attention to me.
but then there's other times too where it's just the one lonely guy that's just sitting there, like, not even doing anything, just, like, watching all the
Yeah.
people just, like, sitting there, and I feel bad because I wanna go and talk to him because he seems like, he's just alone there, so
Yeah, Ben here says that everyone has their own brand. It's all competition of sales at convention, which is absolutely true. Nah, the sad sack. Yeah, man. Uh, like I told you when you brought it up to me, it's ego too. People don't like to share, and for me in the beginning, you should be able to fucking leave your ego at the door and just, hey, you know what? Let's share what the cost of the table. Let's share what the cost of the space. I'll take half the table, you take half the table, and then we'll take turns. That way you can go out and about and do your thing. I can go on but do my thing. We can keep an eye on our product, and then we'll share. I mean, either share the profits or you just pay half and half for the space, and
For the
then you
booth,
keep the
yeah.
money you sell, from your books. But that's the way it should be. But it's not, because most people are just so ego driven. They don't want to share that. They don't want that. And okay,
And then you
fine.
end
If you
up with
wanna,
15 booths of one single person at every single one.
yeah, and you only pick one or two, right? But
Yeah,
you're
because
right though.
I don't have time to sit and talk to every single person
Right.
there. So I try to get as much for the time that I have at a convention and go to the booths that have more people there and more options to choose from.
Yeah, I'm surprised that a lot of indie creators don't follow the image formula, which is not so much what they're doing now, distribution and whatnot, but I'm talking about becoming a collective. We're all gonna come together, pull our resources together, but help each other out as we sell each other's books. So it's not a shared universe per se, but it could be like you said, a thing where, okay, there's five of us. Let's all pull our resources together. We'll all pitch in, pay for
Yeah.
the space. I have my book on this space. You have your book on this, so on and so forth, and we help each other out. And then when we're ready to move on, we'll move on, and break apart, whatever.
Well, and
So
then I'm reading the comments here. Yeah, it says that it's hard to have a salesman mode all the time. And that would I would feel like the benefit of having multiple people there, because if you're there with other comic creators who are your friends who know your story and stuff, it kind of be like, I guess, like a group project, at least in my experience, where I was always the one that was the salesman. I like the one that's actually there in front of the class giving the presentation. I don't care about actually doing all the research and just, doing all
right,
that stuff.
yeah,
You can do all that. I'll just take that information and I'll present it very well. And most of the time, they're fine with that. They don't want to be the center of the
right,
stage and
of
stuff like
course,
that. So it's a good relationship that you have. And I feel like if comic creators get that way, that where, some artists or writers and stuff, they don't want to be the showman, stuff like that, but other people do. So
yeah,
I feel like it'd be like a best of both worlds where, they can go and pitch both of their books. And then if you want more details, you can talk to the
right.
creator of one. But,
Absolutely. No, you're right. I think that's another thing too. You hit a good point. It's knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. Of course, like that's the benefit of coming together and help each other out. It's like, well, you know what, Kyle, you're more of the talker. You're more of the guy who's not afraid to get up from your
jump
chair
out.
and yeah, and like talking to people. So you be the guy for a few hours. We'll sit back, and if they want more details, then we'll provide the details.
Right.
That's a good idea. Benjamin says, yes, especially hard when you are doing commissions to earn that money back to cover the table. And the faster you do them, the more you can do. There's more money in commissions than books. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, there you have it. There's that. Um, it's a tough business out there, but I think it's doable. We live in a time now where there's no excuse. Absolutely no excuse. There's social media, there's this. There's other avenues like Shopify, um, a whole array of social media platforms where you could sell and promote your own book. So there's no reason for you not to even try and attempt it. Now is the time. Today is the time. Now is the time to really go for it and try. Try to see if we can make it. And again, like Mr. Newmeyer said in his thread, it's it's not it's not like the old ways, right? It's different now. We're going to be, like you said, neighbors with the lawyers and the plumbers. it's
Hmm.
it's getting it's getting to a level of comfortability of like, okay, you know what, if I can make 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 a month doing this, that's fine. I could deal with that. That's a living. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And people are content with that.
Yeah. WhatsApp. Rob Liefeld just sold his entire print run in one night on there. Really?
Wow.
Whoa. Well, there you have it. See, that's a prime example. Thank you for that, Ben. That's a prime example of no excuses. Rob Liefeld didn't go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo. He went to WhatsApp. That's crazy. That's
What is
wild.
WhatsApp?
That's wild. But hey, like I said, indie is there's so many avenues for us now. There's no excuse. We don't need diamond distribution anymore. We don't need any of that stuff. All we have to do is just make a good product. And speaking of good products, it's now time for, come on, drum roll, please.
I don't have a drum roll. I don't have a drum set in front of me. What do you want me to do?
I thought I told you to get a drum set. Damn it. No, it's now time for, is it worth the pickup?
Okay.
All right.
I know sometimes you just play the video. You're like, it's time for, and you just play the video. And you just say,
damn it, we're doing it live, Kyle. We're doing it live.
That's not, you can't use that excuse every single time something just happens.
Well, here let's talk about it. We have a segment called "Is It Worth the Pickup?" and we focus on indie comics because, hey, like we mentioned earlier, indie comic creators don't get as much love. It's a little harder to get out there. It's a little harder to stand out amongst the sea of other indie creators that are out there doing their thing. And so, in this segment, Kyle here purchases a comic book himself, or I purchase it and I lend it to him, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And we review the books that during the week, and we write up notes and we give a review, and we let you guys know, or Kyle here lets you know if it's worth the pickup or not. And today's book is a book that I personally like. I think it's personally speaking, I think it's an injustice that this guy has not gotten the notoriety that he deserves, in my opinion. Okay, it's just my opinion. Okay, I think this book should be an Image book. It's a good fit for Image, the brand, and I'm surprised that he hasn't tried to get that, or maybe he has. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's in the works, cutting a deal for all I know. But today's book is Magic Powder by
Jeffrey Paul Lewis Schiller. It's a long
Louis Schiller.
name. They did the concept, story, characters, and script, and then we have Danielle, or I guess Danielle Aquilani,
Aquilani.
Aquilani, I guess.
So he did Danielle. Excuse us, Danielle. We don't.
Oh, did he freeze?
Who? Me?
You?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, well, for me, you froze.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, my Wi-Fi is going in and out. I can see a little signal here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Danielle Aquilani. Inks, colors, designs, and letters. Wow. Look at that. Doing all that stuff. And then Samuel Iwunzi is the front cover artist. Okay, so I did freeze. So it wasn't just you.
See, I'm right.
You're right. I'm wrong. But Magic Powder. Now, before I let Kyle take the ship, I just want to give you guys
because it's my show.
A brief description of what this book is. All I'm going to say is, we were talking about fantasy as I used the example. This is a book that's The Sopranos meets Lord of the Rings. Let me repeat that again. This book is The Sopranos meets Lord of the Rings. And I fucking love it, because I'm not a big fantasy guy. I like fantasy, don't get me wrong. I'm Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff, but I'm more of the surface fan guy. I like, if it's up there and all the fantasy nerds are singing its praises, if it reaches to the top of my attention, then I'll check it out and enjoy it. but that's the extent of it. And again, no disrespect to people who love fantasy. That's just the way I am. But I'm not opposed to fantasy. I'm a big fan of the movies like Legend, for instance. Tom Cruise. It's a really Scott film. Um, there's Labyrinth, which is kind of like fantasy, but not really.
That's
Dark
it's
Crystal is another one of my favorites that I like, and that's the extent of it. I'm not really, I don't go deep into it, so I'm not a D&D guy, so that. But I just love the premise of this book, and it sold me right away. And I'll let Kyle now talk about the story. Go ahead, Kyle.
wow, I can talk during my own segment
Yes,
now.
yes, you can talk now. Shut up and hurry up.
All right. Well, to go along with that, yeah, I also am very big into fantasy. I never got into Dungeons and Dragons though, partially because I just never really had anybody um, to like play with that again
Yeah,
with. So I probably would if I did, but I love Lord of the Rings and I love all the other, fantasy
fantastical.
elements. Fantastical. That's the word I was looking for. Fantastical elements. Um, and so when it comes to this book, I was very intrigued when he gave it to me. Overall, and I'll say this, for as I do for every comic creator, huge respect, huge, admiration for any independent comic creator, because as we've mentioned before, creating comics is not easy. And so I'm sure in this book, visually was very pleasing. I loved the design of all the characters. Um, the art and the colors were really great. Gave lots of definition. I did have a few problems with it, I'd say. Um, there was, from what I could gather, the main story was that there's multiple different drug cartels that are going on in this city. And I guess in this world, the elves are like the top fairy tale creatures in charge. And all the rest of them are under their rule, except for this one city, which is not under their rule. And so, because of this, they have lots of these drug things, which are called like pixie dust.
Is this right here? Right here?
Yeah, I believe that's what's the pixie dust, or at least the pouches of the pixie dust. Um, I did like the names being versions of what their species is. So it's like, I think the guy in white, his name's like Father Dwarf or something like that, or Head Dwarf. It's very like sort of on the nose. Same with the
Dwarf
cops
father.
being called
Dwarf
Knight
father.
Dwarf Father. That's
Like
right.
like Godfather.
Yeah. So I did enjoy that. The knights are the police. This gives a lot of vibes of um the Disney animated movie Onward, where it's the fantastical stuff but in real life, like setting. Um but I think what this book didn't really work for me was that there was so many different characters and different setups that we couldn't really follow one specific story all the way through. So we got lots of what I would say is like little pocket stories that are all kind of loosely connected, but it's not like one character that we're following through the whole thing. Um, but anyway, so basically the story is this drug deal goes bust. The knights go in. We find this elf who's a curator at some library. He hears about it on the news that of this drug bust, and calls up a friend for a favor, um, in which he brings a different drug lord to him and basically becomes the villain, in which he kills the other drug lord and claims that he's going to then take control of this city, which I guess is the last city that is not owned or controlled by the elves. Um, and that's basically the story. So it's not like I'm not really sure whether or not that this villain is he supposed to be the villain or is he supposed to be the main character? I'm not entirely sure. But like I said though, the art and stuff is really great and the stories in and of themselves, like if they're just like short stories, they work really well. I think what could have helped is having a through line that goes through all of it. Because like this scene right here, where it shows, go back up, where it shows the dwarf father
Mm-hmm.
going towards the prison.
Right.
That's the only shot that we see, and it's just him going towards the prison, which is something that we probably could have just inferred. And there's no lines spoken. It just shows that it's a prison. So, like, what was the purpose of that? Just showing that he went to prison? I mean, we could have assumed that.
I see. Okay.
So, we find out that he's got the elf has got some magical powers. I assume probably through the pixie dust drugs, so that he's able to do these like great feats of strength and stuff like that. So it's building up some of the world. Um, one thing that I do like
Oh
about
damn! Look
this
at that.
book,
Woo.
yeah,
Hardcore.
it's definitely it's like I said, when it gives vibes of Onward, it's just of the setting and the premise. In terms of graphicness, is nothing
Yeah,
like
as you can see
the
here.
Disney one, which I do prefer. I like this better. I never watched the Onward movie because I thought it was just too, I guess, childish. This
Ah. Okay.
I like more. Um, and again, here it's another one of those scenes where yeah, it's like loosely tied in, but I'm not sure if these guys. I mean, like, um, we see one of the severed heads, which is one of the guys that was being held, not hostage, I guess hostage from the curator elf. But yeah, but like I was saying, one of the main reasons why I like this book is because here at the end it gave character sheets
Mm.
of who and what they are. Now, the only thing though is that like for most of it is pretty implied. It tells you a little bit of the backstory of some of them, which does help, but a lot of them either they didn't really make that big of an appearance to matter, or that it was kind of pretty generic where you could probably just use your own imagination and figure that out. One thing I do wish was changed. Well, another thing too is that the main bad guy, or I guess you would say the main elf guy, we never learned his name in the actual book. It's not until here at the end that
This
we
guy.
learn. No, no, the glasses guy. Keep going down. Keep going down.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh,
Him.
this guy. Okay.
Yeah. Jaw. I guess
Zaja.
maybe Jaw. Yeah. We that's the only time we learn of his name. But um
Have a rest
yeah,
in peace section. That's
I
pretty
do
cool.
like that. That's kind of fun to see like who died in this. But this section right here, I wish this was at the beginning,
Ah,
because
yeah,
this gives basically just a brief summary of what the world is
right.
and condensed it down. Like when you read through the story, you could infer that and figure it out. But having this be at the front and reading it would have helped that process go a lot faster.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree with that one. That's true. This should have been at the top. Absolutely.
What about you?
That's
What did you think of this book?
oh, like I said, I love this. It was a great setup to a first issue. I kind of got like when you mentioned about how everything's loosely linked together with all these various stories going on at once. Well, not at once, but how it jumps from story to story. It almost has like a Pulp Fiction vibe to it for me. And
Yeah, I guess I
have you
could see
seen Pulp
that.
Fiction,
I've seen
the
that.
movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how that movie is kind of it's just story here, and story there, and it's loosely
Right.
based. They're loosely connected, but not
Yeah.
completely. And that's the vibe I got reading this. Is that
Right.
I didn't care so much about how it wasn't really nothing was really making sense. I kind of just figured, you know what? I might have to read the second issue in order for
Yeah.
me to continue on with these short stories that I'm seeing here from the beginning. This elf guy, this character here, who goes
Yeah.
to this building and asks for a trade, and then we cut to the drug deal.
Right. And that's it just seems like it's a lot of setups. So I don't know who we're necessarily supposed to be following. And it could be like you said, like Pulp Fiction, where Pulp Fiction doesn't necessarily have a main character per se.
Right,
Like
right,
you can say that Samuel Jackson and John Travolta's characters are the main characters of Pulp Fiction, but there's plenty of other characters in that show or in the movie. But yeah, it just seems that I just say, how about this? Personally, I don't necessarily like that form of storytelling. I'd
I see.
rather have one person be throughout the whole
Right,
thing, or at least
right.
a thread that I can follow. But I do see that there are people that like that.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I really dug this, and I especially like this scene here, with the mermans
Yeah.
delivering the drugs. I thought it was pretty brilliant because
Like
it
I
was a
said,
nice callback. I don't know if I wish the writer were here because I could have asked him the question, but it was a nice callback to a movie that I love called Once Upon a Time in America. It's a gangster film, uh, directed by Sergio Leone, and there's a scene not like this exactly where someone's swimming to get the drugs, but there's a scene where the James Woods character, as a teenager, um, pitches an idea to a mobster about how they can get their drugs without the port authority, you know, taking away their drugs when they catch them, trying to smuggle in. I think it's not drugs. I think it's liquor. It was during the Prohibition era, I think, and it was like this ingenious idea of like keeping the drugs in barrels or the liquor in barrels, and then when uh using salt to weigh them down, but then once the salt dissolves, it like raises up the
raises
the
them back up.
balloons. Yeah, and then you can grab them from there. And it's kind of reminding me of that. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but the fact that he used mermans to like deliver drugs is ingenious because again, this was like it's a mobster story, but with fantastical elements, and I thought it
Right.
was a perfect marriage for that.
And
You know,
I like I said, it's not like I disliked any of those little stories. I think that yeah, this was the most comprehensive one I'd say was
right?
between um him with the dwarf boss and the mermaids and stuff that took up a majority of what
Yeah,
the
it
book
did.
was.
It did.
So that was good. I liked that.
I
Um
also was impressed with the sequentials. The sequentials were really well done, and the artist did a fantastical job. Just like I mean, look at all this I mean, it's not like detail like Frank Quietly, but he really does paint the picture of where they're at.
oh
It's
yeah.
very subtle
Well,
and well done. It's not directly in your face, and his sequentials, his beats, his panel per panel beats are spot on in my opinion. And I found myself enjoying the story more and more as I kept reading it. And I was really looking like the Knights thing. I was like, oh, the Knights, that's pretty cool, man. Like
well,
that's pretty
and
awesome.
it gives you a sense of scale and where everybody is in the
Yeah,
shots. Like, cause go back up, it gives you like the establish. Go back up more to where you were just talking about. Like, yeah, the establishing shot. You
yeah,
see the seawall right there. You see the barrier, And
Right.
then as you keep on going down, you see that, okay, well, the cops are right behind that
Yep.
barrier, or
Yeah.
the knights
Exactly.
are right there and they're coming out. So it flows very nice.
Yeah, and the lettering as well as the SFX is a nice touch. It complements the art. It's not it feels like it's part of the art, which is what good lettering is supposed to look like. And
Mhm.
considering that the artist is the letterer, I mean, it makes sense that he or she um decided to
Took
do
into
that
that
themselves.
consideration.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because it worked for me totally. And then again, the every panel was just like spot on, and that's why I'm surprised that this book hasn't been getting. I'm sure he's doing well. I'm sure Jeff, the writer, is doing very well with it. He's on his sixth campaign, I think. So I think he's doing all right. Again, going back to the theme of the show, patronage. He probably has a fan base already established that really likes what he's doing here, and I'm one of them. Because I really am digging. It's very unique. I've never seen anything like this before, where you married someone marrying these two genres, the gangster mobster genre with the fantasy genre, and
Yeah.
it works absolutely beautifully here.
Or if they do, it's very, very campy, or very like too comical, I'd say.
Right.
Like I feel like this sort of borders that line of like
Yeah, it does.
comical and seriousness.
Yeah, and he does a great job, especially at the end, like towards the end, where like we see all this stuff in the beginning. It's cool, but then I really
I
like
like
this
that
panel
other
too.
shot.
This is a great look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get that a lot in indie comics. It really does feel like a mainstream comic book. Like this belongs either with Dark Horse or with Image Comics because more eyes need to be on this book. But anyway, I also love the shot too. This whole panel here was great.
Right.
But
It makes you want
going back
it brings a lot of questions of like, who's this character? I want to learn more about him.
exactly, exactly. But this sequence here was the one, especially. Yeah, but you're right about this page though when you mentioned that it was
Right.
kind of uh
Redundant.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
You could have done without it
I mean, I
because
feel like that would just be
it does disrupt this whole thing here.
right. That flow.
Yeah,
It,
it
it
does. You're right. You're right about that. It does disrupt it. But I mean, this right here was the turning point for me, where I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, a true crime fantasy comic book, you know.
yeah.
And again, the lettering was great. The pacing was fantastic, and the sequentials were on point. And I love the I think this is like the Miami Vice little
Yeah.
wink.
Stereotypical.
Little wink here. But it worked out great. Also, I think a little tidbit of information here. A lot of these likenesses that we see here of these characters um were based off backers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not all of them. Not all of them, but there's a few characters. I'm pretty sure some like maybe this was probably a backer. Maybe these two were probably backers. I mean, because he did have tiers in his campaign where if you gave if you backed a certain perk or reward, you would send a picture of yourself and the artist will draw you in the comic book.
It could have been also the Knights too.
Yeah, the knights as well. Freddie
Yeah.
Ness says, "Not gonna lie, this book looks dope. I think they had it jump from story to story because they wanted to establish the tone of what happens in the city. So technically, the city. Thank you, Freddie. Perfect. I couldn't have said it better myself. The city is the main character,
Okay.
or the magic powder, the drug could be the main character too, and everything else
Yeah.
is happening around them. You know,
I mean, like I said, personally, I just like to have one character, or at least or a team or something that I'm following
right?
through it. Um, but wasn't as disjointed or anything, so it was still easy to read, and I got it. But yeah, that panel with the prison could have been taken out.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that little blurb at the end could have been at the beginning.
Agreed.
Um, I think that, I mean, most of the other I like this interaction here. I think could have been explained a little bit more. I mean, yeah, we get the uh mystery of like calling in favors and stuff like that. But I think we could have gotten a little bit more out of that scene.
No, no,
No?
that's too much. No, like when we had Dionysius here for Tome of Reckoning, there was a little thing he said that I agree with, which is you shouldn't be spoon fed every little detail yet, like right away. You should wait, let it
Yeah.
simmer, soak it in, and then when the moment happens, when we find out the the history between these two characters, then it's gonna pay off. It's gonna like work itself out if the writer does a good job delivering it. That is.
So,
But I dug it overall. It's one of my favorites. It's a very underappreciated indie comic, especially in the scene that I'm in, the tribe that I so I guess I hang out with on social media. But it's one of those books where I first it was this right here. This page is what sold me.
yeah,
I saw
that beginning
I saw it
shot.
on my timeline. And I was like, "What's this?" So I clicked on the guy's Twitter account, and I saw that he had a crowdfunding. I was like, "Oh wow, this is amazing!" And so I backed it. I backed the PDF just to check it out, and I dug it. I think it's really well done, and I recommend it. But moment of truth, Kyle, is Magic Powder worth the pickup?
I'd say yes, it is worth the pickup. I do think as the story progresses, it will get exponentially better. At the moment, I
Agreed.
say, yeah, it's pretty good for what it is. I think having an issue 2 and reading that and understanding a little bit more about these characters and the world and stuff like that will make this a lot better. But as like I'd say as like a collection of short stories, it's very good and setting up the world.
It does. It really does do a great job setting up the world, and it has it at least has one of the genres I love, which is the mobster genre. I love
Yeah.
the crime mobster genre. It's one of my favorites. Anything related to that, I watch just to check out. And the fantasy just works for me. It's just a good, perfect marriage, and I highly recommend. If you guys have never heard of Magic Powder, it's once again written by Jeffrey Paul Lewis Schiller. He has his Twitter account. It's I think if you just type in Magic Powder, it'll pop up on X. I don't know if he has an Instagram or not, but I know he has a Kickstarter. So if you want to check this out, if you like what you saw here, go check it out. Give him back him and get those books and enjoy good stuff. Like indie. There's a lot of great indie stuff out there. Just to get enough eyes, and that's what we're trying to do. So definitely worth the pickup for me. Worth the pickup for Kyle. Check
Hmm.
it out. And that sums up this segment for Is It Worth the Pickup? Magic Powder, number one.
Well, and I think what you're saying too, where it plays into different themes and genres and stuff like that. I found myself, more leaning towards that now too when picking up books. I mean,
Right.
for one thing, like GI Joe, it's more military war type stories and stuff like that. Yeah, there's fantastical elements in it, but it's not like superheroes. Another books that I've been reading and we were talking about today was uh, Zorro, and I'm going to be reading
Excuse me.
Django Zorro.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, I finally got the whole run, so I'm gonna be reading Django Zorro. So it's like different books like that. That's not necessarily um, superheroes, but yet still are good books in different genres. Another
Nice.
one that I want to go and read and get is 30 Days of Night horror
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. That's the book that made IDW.
Yeah.
It brought a spotlight to IDW and pretty much made them not a powerhouse, but it brought them into the game and were competitive with the rest of the small press comic book publishers out there. Yeah, they owe a lot to 30 Days and Nights. So It's how far, like it's just
And
crazy
they made
how
a movie
far they've
about it.
fallen. Yeah, they made a movie, so it was very extremely successful. Another rare instance of a lightning in the bottle, right? You had Walking Dead, and then 30 Days and Nights was another one that were just it just blew up. It was
Right.
such a perfect premise, a vampire story that takes place in Alaska where there's nightfall for 30 days. That's just crazy, wild,
Yeah. It really plays into that like real world thing that people really have to deal with, and then just adds a little twist to it.
right?
And then,
Um,
like you mentioned with Walking Dead, I mean, again, Skybound or Robert Kirkman, another one
Walking
of
Dead
his
pretty much
things.
built Skybound.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, if it wasn't for Walking Dead, there would be no Skybound. It would just be Robert Kirkman making comics. And good on Robert Kirkman. He's the only one that I've seen so far who stayed true to his business principles, which is make good comic books.
Right.
That's it. That's all you need to do, and just continue pushing out good product. And I'm glad that he picked up Transformers and GI Joe because he's really done a great job
He might pick
managing
up
it.
more. Might pick up might pick up TMNT if depending on
Ooh,
how.
that'd be a
Imagine
win,
that.
dude. That'd be a win. So
Imagine a book crossover with GI Joe, Transformers, and Ninja Turtles.
that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think that pretty much covers it up for tonight, Kyle. Um, is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to add?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I got a really great book right here,
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to next week. There's gonna be a lot of new stuff that's gonna be coming out, new stories. Uh gonna be reading more books. I get through my backlog of stuff slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely.
And comic conventions are gonna be starting up this year soon. I think so.
Yeah,
Gonna have
you
more
mentioned
stuff to
me,
talk
the
about.
Pasadena Comic Con is happening this weekend.
That is, yes. I'm not sure whether or not I'm gonna be able to make that one, but yeah.
Freddie says, "Oh, I saw a documentary on YouTube about Kirkman and how he lied to the top." What? Oh, are you talking about? Wait, what are you talking about, Freddie? Are you talking about? Are we thinking the same thing? Because I heard a story that he lied about Walking Dead when he pitched it to Image initially. It was supposed to involve aliens or something like that, and then as like as the issues kept coming out, the Image people were like, "Hey, you're at your like sixth issue here, and I don't see anything about aliens." And then I guess he finally came clean and says, "Yeah, actually, there was never any aliens. It was just pretty much a straight up story
Zombie
about
story.
zombie story about well, not just a zombie story, but story about human beings dealing with
Right.
zombie apocalypse, which I think that's what made Walking Dead so unique and so not approachable, but what's the word I'm thinking?
Um Relatable?
Relatable, yeah, because it was about a father protecting his son, and I mean, most people
Everybody,
who
yeah.
who read comics are fathers themselves, so yeah, they could identify with that. So that's why is that the story you're thinking about? Nah, this was him lying to his friend and artist. Ooh, sounds juicy.
Wow. Should let us send us that video. We have
Yeah,
our
I gotta see that because
Instagrams.
I never heard that. I never seen that or heard of that. But I think that's it, man. That's all I have really this week.
Yeah.
Nothing else you want to add?
Um no, not really. You can
No, not really.
put up our Instagram
Oh yes,
on the
sorry.
screen.
Yes, yes, yes.
Don't forget to also, so there's our Instagrams. I try to post new stuff that I get all the time. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and this video because that helps the algorithm and it helps
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
Also, if you want to see us talk about something, or if you want to get in, like, obviously we read the chat all the time, so feel free to comment as much as you want. We're
Yeah,
wa- this
yeah,
this channel is built so that we can communicate with fans and community and stuff like that, because like the beginning intro says, we just want to have conversations.
yeah,
It's kind of
yeah,
hard to just have conversations with just us. It's like we want to hear from
yeah.
you. So
Yeah,
please feel free to share whatever thoughts you have.
I couldn't say it better myself. I would like to personally thank the chat, Ben, Oliver, uh, who else was with us? Curious Comics. It's been a while, sir. Good to see you again. And I think that's all. Freddie, of course, Freddie. Yeah, thank you for joining us and hanging out with us and hearing us talk about the changing landscape. And yeah, like you said, just let us know what topics you guys want us to talk about, and we'll talk about it. Fuck it,
Yeah.
we're not scared. We're not scared. So yeah, we'll talk about whatever. That goes beyond comic books too. It could be
Right.
movies, it could be TV shows, it could be some current thing happening in culture, whatever the case may be. We're not afraid to talk about it. But I think that about wraps it up for us tonight. Thank you again for coming to the show. And next week we'll come back, and the topic will be who knows. I mean, who knows what
Yeah.
happens from today until next Friday. But there's always something. There's
There's
always
always something.
something.
Because I'm always gonna go to the new comic book shops, and I'm always going and the
This might be the
comic book shop, so
drugs,
I'm
but
always
this
gonna be
pod is underrated. It might be the drugs, Freddie. But I appreciate that though, bro.
Thank you.
Now, since we're already at the end of the show, I just want to recommend Duke. Pick it up,
Yes.
check it out. Pick up Magic Powder. The X Force book might be good. I might read it. I'm gonna read it this weekend, and I might like it. I might actually enjoy it, even though it has
Yeah.
a pretty terrible cover. But the issue is still the issue could still be pretty good. So
It might
I'm still
be.
gonna check it out. And that's it for me. You guys stay safe out there,
Yeah.
and we'll see you on the next one. But before we go, I want to share with you something that I saw during the week that I thought was
Oh boy.
interesting. It's not that, Kyle. I decided to hold off on that one.
Okay.
I found something else. I found this video and it cracked me up because I thought it was superb. And that's what I want to do for the end of these shows, is just share with you guys something that made me laugh, something that I found interesting. And this video is called "This Man Deserves an Oscar." So with that, I leave you. I bid you adieu. We'll see you next week. You guys take care. Have a great weekend. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Shoot, what's he doing? Freaking drunk. Crap. Shoot. Uh-oh.